Welcome to Subramani. A little experiment. I'm standing today instead of sitting, and but I'm going to talk to you about our own portfolios, and just want to bring to your attention that our portfolios are a function of what we do and what we do not do. Right? We normally, acts of omission and acts of commission. So sometimes what happens is you make some rules, and you benefit by those rules, and you also lose by some of those rules that you make. Sometimes you benefit completely unexpectedly, and sometimes you benefit by a particular plan of action. So let me just explain some of these things. Now there are about 4,000 odd fund schemes on offer, including FMPs, etc. And somebody is offering it to you constantly, right? Somebody is telling you buy this, buy this, buy this, and you need 4 or 5 funds, which means you have to say 3,995 no's and 5 yeses. Now if you are a venture capitalist, maybe the ratio is even worse. You get 100 proposals, you have to say yes to 1. And remember, every proposal that comes to you as a venture capitalist is made by a guy or a girl who is very, very passionate about what they are going to do or about to do or already doing. And you have to make sure that enthusiasm rubs off on you, or you will not invest, but also rubs off on you so nicely that you are not emotionally committed, and then you feel, oh, I've invested so much time and effort and money, let me also put time and effort, so let me also put some money. That does not really happen that way. So you have to say no more often than you have to say yes. Whether you're handling other people's money as a venture capitalist, or you're handling your own money as a venture capitalist, or your own money even as an investor. So saying no is a very important thing, which means the choices that you make are important. The choices that you do not make are also important. For example, I have principally not invested in companies working out of Hyderabad simply because I have had past experiences which have been bad. I'm not even saying all companies in Hyderabad are bad or things like that. So how have I benefited? Because I burnt my hands at something called the United Group, etc. Even they had some healthcare companies and diagnostic companies, and lots of such things where I had lost some money in the past. I decided I will not invest. Did I benefit? Yes, I benefited. I traded in Satyam but did not invest. I traded in GTB but did not invest. I traded a lot in Dr. Reddy Laboratory but still did not invest. So what were my gains? I did not lose money in Satyam, I did not lose money in GTB, but I also missed Dr. Reddy Laboratory. So by creating some rules for yourself, you will definitely earn money sometimes and lose money sometimes. Principally, I decided I will not invest in a company which is spreading cancer. So therefore, I got rid of all my ITC and got into Siemens and Cummins. If you see the last 3-4 years performance, Siemens has given a rock solid performance. ITC has not, but that is luck. I was actually expecting to get poorer returns in Siemens than ITC, and I knew comparatively I would do worse. I was sure that I would do worse in Siemens than I would have done in ITC, but principally I decided to get out of ITC. But I benefited because ITC underperformed for whatever reasons, but that is luck. So knowing that sometimes it is luck and sometimes it is strategy and sometimes it is skill is not going to be very easy, but you have to do that, and you have to realize that saying no is very important after a particular stage, even for any product which is offered to you. Right, so you may not need a ULIP. It does not matter whether it has got fantastic features. You're 52 years of age, you're well provided for your spouse, your children have started earning. You don't really need to have too much of life insurance anymore. So if you don't need life insurance, ULIP is an unnecessary product. We are not even getting into whether it is cheap or expensive. You're 22 years of age, you don't have any insurance, but you can't afford a ULIP because you need a term insurance. So at that time one may be appropriate, at the other time another one may be appropriate. I'm not even getting into ULIP versus term, that's a completely different debate. But you're being pushed to buy some term insurance, some endowment plans, right? You have to have the ability to say no. Again, the question of when you go into a restaurant and you choose to have, say, dal chawal, or you desire to have rava masala dosa. You are saying no to 39 other items which are on the menu card. You're saying, then you can decide whether to have a tea or a coffee with sugar, without sugar, with cream, without cream, with milk, whatever. Lots of options are given to you. You have to decide what you want. Maybe at a younger age you would have ordered 2 dishes, but now you know that you can afford to eat only 1 dish, so you order only 1 dish. So as your lifestyle changes, as you make, as your portfolio grows, you also realize that sometimes concentrated portfolios make money, sometimes you need diversification. You make money with a concentrated portfolio, but you protect your money with a diversified portfolio. So making all those changes is something which is a very individual journey that you have to go through. You have to learn. You have to learn when to say yes, when to say no, when to hold. For example, I have held shares like Hero Honda for 20-25 years and then sold. I have held shares like Colgate now for 23 plus 21, 44 years and not sold enough. I still get a good dividend. I have not sold. Coromandel International, I have held for 35 years, right? So the question is, how long do you hold? What do you do? When do you buy? When do you sell? When do you trade? Or all questions which you have to answer by yourself. There are no simple answers available. Therefore, you create a equity talking group rather than an equity advisory group. So I have an equity talking group which can tell me, just shut up, this can't be done, or somebody saying, wow, that's a great idea. You need those kind of self-help supports, SHG as I should be calling them, where they will tell you why they think you're right or why they think you're wrong, right? So putting together all this, your learning about equity can happen only with your equity diary. So maintain an equity diary, listen to people, write down, think what they are saying, and you can have your learning from anywhere. For example, one thing which I like to say is, I was once attending a press conference at the Taj about the Taj results, and one very smart analyst ripped the management for investing during bad times. 6 months later, when the times turned, Taj Indian Hotels turned out to be a fantastic performer. And I learned from the analyst who was ripping them apart that speaking English does not mean you have knowledge. The CFO, who is not a great speaker, actually was talking far more sense, because investing during bad times is the best way to invest, right? So that was what was happening with the Taj. Similarly, in another press conference of Hero Honda, I asked Mr. Munjal, the senior Mr. Munjal, and he said, oh, all of us will make money. I'll make money, Bajaj will make money, Suzuki will make money. I bought all of them. I stayed on. I sold over a period of time, maybe 20 years. And I made money in all of them. Then I may have gone to a position when I have zero two-wheeler, but all the two-wheeler money that I made, a lot of it is to be attributed to Mr. Munjal telling me that, without worrying about what will people think about him talking about the opposition. It was very clear that he said that all of them will make money. I made money because I listened to him. One piece of thing, right? So what you hear from various sources has to go into some learning book which you will implement later on, right? So do all this, start saying no more often, and let's look at it this way. If I have held HDFC Bank from 2004, I think 2004 to 2021, it means 17 years of holding. It means 17 into 4, 68 quarters of deciding to say no to selling, right? So I've decided not to sell. That is also a decision. Sometimes you take a decision not to take a decision. For example, in Colgate, I've said I will not do a quarterly review. If I've held it for so many years, I'll just hold on, right? I mean, the PE may change, the EPS may change, but the fact is people are going to brush their teeth. India is not a fully penetrated market. There will always be scope to make money in things like FMCG. So I'm sticking on to Colgate. Now, deciding not to do a review on a quarterly basis is also a decision. It is not whether it is right or wrong, but it is a decision. That decision might help me, might hurt me, right? So I say 1990 itself, if I had sold Colgate and bought Nestle, I would have benefited. Maybe if I had sold Colgate and bought HUL, I would have benefited. But there have been times when Colgate was far better, a performer than HUL. Right? So those periods you cannot forget. So you end up having a few mutual funds, you end up having some shares, but you need only 20 shares and there are 3,000 listed shares. You need only 4 mutual funds or 5 mutual funds and there are 4,000 mutual funds. So remember, saying no is far more often necessary. So in the long run, the ability to choose a good fund, to sit tight over long periods of time, and to say no more often than to say yes, these are all requirements. I'm not saying these are sufficient, but these are necessary conditions for you to make money in the long run in equities, and equities are for the long run. Equities is not for the short run. That's it. Thank you.